Okay. In part one, we were talking story about war, Christendom's support of war, the early Christians' refusal to be involved in war, and of course, today, real Christians would be neutral. But now, the world is getting comfortable with discomfort. How so? Are you aware that the ongoing conflict in Europe right now, involving Russia and Ukraine on the battlefield, and involving at the behest of the United States, an economic war in the opening salvo of this economic war. The Western powers were very confident in their weapon, their weapon of choice being to isolate the enemy economically and destroy them. However, their enemy is quite clever and very possibly has drawn the Western powers into a trap. How so? Well, as we all know, if we have a bit of knowledge about history, the United States after World War II was quite stable and trusted. And after World War II, the US dollar was quite a trusted and valuable asset. Backed by gold. And then in 1971, Richard Nixon, the president who resigned, over the Watergate scandal, in 1971, he took the United States off of the dollar-backed exchange. Now you have to remember, he announced that it was a temporary move, and that was over 50 years ago. So I guess that lends a new definition as to the term temporary. But without the gold there to back the dollar, things were starting to look kind of dicey. And so some very savvy characters, one of them being Henry Kissinger, contrived and delivered the concept of the petrodollar. Petrodollar was very simple. The architects would go to Saudi Arabia and offer Saudi Arabia protection in exchange for them selling oil only with the dollar. And the other part of the genius behind their plan was that Saudi Arabia would send oil to the United States, but the United States never really sent dollars to Saudi Arabia because the deal included the Saudis using those dollars to buy government bonds, stocks on the stock exchange, and all kinds of other goodies. So those dollars really pretty much just stayed in the United States. A genius plan, really. Until we arrive at 2022. And we'll remember one day that in March of 2022, because the sanctions that were levied upon Russia over its involvement in Ukraine, which is a whole nother story about war. The Russians announced that they will only accept payment in oil with the ruble. And that is the first time since the establishment of the petrodollar that anyone has dared to challenge the dollar's role as the medium of exchange for oil. And that's just the beginning. Soon the Russians will announce that grain, which probably is accounting for 40% of Europe's grain, Africa, the Middle East, many places in the world will be forced to pay for grain with rubles. And the list will go on. This is indeed an event that will go down in the history books. Although the history of the world may be very short from here on out. But indeed, the Russians have countered with a brilliant move. A move that certainly must have all of the planners in the seats of government in the West not sleeping very well at night, as their power is now successfully being challenged. And may very well soon find themselves in retreat. This economic war will have consequences. I think that's how you spell consequence. Well, good enough, huh? Consequence. If successful, the dollar will be defeated. And that defeat will bring hardship to those in the West who have been very, very much benefited by the unchallenged power of the dollar. And now is the time to know and understand that change, whether we like it or not, whether we like it or not, change is afoot. Change. So this is the second installment of war.